WED Talks. We are diving deep into the stories, challenges, and triumphs of women and our allies in the defence and security sector. Empower, elevate, excel.
Hello to all our listeners, and thanks for joining us. So today I'm joined by Sally Stockham from Fear Free Charity. And Fear Free are a Southwest charity that support those impacted by domestic abuse, sexual violence and stalking. A little bit of a warning for anyone listening that we are going to be talking about those topics, and in particular we're going to be talking about domestic abuse. If that is something that potentially might trigger you or cause you some concerns, a bit of a heads up that that is what's coming. And this one probably isn't going to be suitable for children. Domestic abuse is where we're talking about any incident or conduct where someone's behaviour towards another is abusive and those people are in a relationship. It happens to people regardless of gender, sexuality, age, socioeconomic background. And so I'm going to be talking to Sally about a new programme that Fear Free are running, specifically for people that are part of the military or that have ever been part of the military. Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us on episode number 3. And I'm joined today by Sally. Sally, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sally Stockham, and I'm the Domestic Violence Perpetrator Programme Manager for Fear Free.
Amazing, thank you. And so I know of Fear Free, the charity. I started working there a short time ago. But Sally, tell our listeners what Fear Free do.
Fear Free have a range of services that they deliver. So it's working with perpetrators of domestic abuse, so people who harm through physical, emotional, psychological, financial, sexual abuse. We also support victims of domestic abuse. We support children. We support affected others, which means anybody that's really affected by either the victim or the perpetrator, will support them as well.
Amazing, thank you. And Sally, how long have you worked in this sector?
So I've been with Fear Free, formerly Splits, since 2012, apart from 2 years, but yeah, a long time.
Long time. And what keeps you in this world? What's the drive for you?
My drive is my passion for change and to ensure that not just women, but women, men and children are all kept safe from domestic abuse. We all know that it doesn't just start with physical assaults. It can be coercive control. It can be threats, intimidation. And that's where it starts from. And it can escalate then up to physical and sadly, even death, homicide. So if myself and my teams can be part of making those positive changes to ensure that children in the future, they're not continually affected by generational abuse and they are happy, healthy, respectful adult, then we've done some of our job right.
Amazing, thank you. And you talked about domestic abuse, Sally, and I've worked in the police service and now in the charity sector, so I have quite a good understanding of domestic abuse. But for anyone that's listening that isn't sure, I know you talked about the different types, but someone's listening to this right now and thinking, I'm not sure if I'm in an abusive relationship. What kind of things might they be able to look out for?
That could include belittling partner, not giving your partner choices to make for themselves. And this is regardless of gender. You know, it's not gender specific. So it's not just women who are victims. We do actually support male victims as well in our services. It's somebody who might be a victim of generational abuse. So maybe has seen their parents maybe hitting each other, shouting at each other. There may be alcohol abuse, there may be drug use. It could be that coercive control. It could be controlling behavior, somebody who doesn't actually want to give away their control because at some point they may have felt in their past a lack of control. So during adulthood, they've learned to kind of take back the control, but just not managed it properly or well. So it could be somebody, if their partner is saying, I don't like the way you're doing this, or I don't like the way you're treating me, or you shout at me and the children are witnessing this. You know, we've got social care involvement and I wish it wasn't like this. We need to make changes. I want you to change. If your partner's saying, I want you to change, you weren't like this when we first met. These are the signs that you need to look out for to kind of reach out and get some help. And I always say to clients that come to us, at some point in our lives, we all need a little bit of help with something. So if it's smoking, we might go to a smoking service through the NHS. If it's therapy, we might go to a therapist. We're here to offer that support. We're here to walk alongside of somebody. We're not here to judge. We're here to support them in their journey to make those changes and to enable, like I said, the ultimate aim is to keep everybody safe and children in particular.
Thanks, Sally. In terms of people who are experiencing domestic abuse, I guess for want of a better word, people who are perhaps victims of domestic abuse, what advice would you be giving them?
There are lots of links on the website to kind of give them some guidance. If they're in two minds, I don't know if this is abuse, I don't know if I am being controlled, how to ascertain what help is out there. There are lots of different sources for them to reach out to. But first and foremost, I would say we've got a great duty team here at Fear Free that if they're unsure, without any judgment, they can just get some advice to see, where they can move forward.
Sounds good. And what geographical areas does Fear Free cover for victims?
For victims, it's Wiltshire and Devon.
Amazing. Thank you. And so there's also a chunk of work that Fear Free do, I understand, with those who harm. So, potentially might be called perpetrators of domestic abuse, or anyone that potentially is involved in a relationship where they may cause harm to their partner. And tell me what advice you give to those individuals.
Well, when they first come to us, understandably, there's a lot of guilt and shame. And it takes a lot of courage for them to pick up the phone and ask for some advice and guidance. There could be some minimisation right at the very start. I mean, I think we all minimise at some point if we're feeling that we might be judged. We put this barrier up in front of ourselves because we don't want to be judged. It's usually taken a long time for somebody to pick the phone up or to even complete a referral form on our online page to get to that stage to think, I actually probably do need help and support. The advice that we would give, because there is minimisation, because there is guilt and shame, we recognise that. So we absolutely encourage them to be as open and honest as possible right at the very beginning, again, without judgment, without support. Can absolutely empathise with any childhood trauma that might have gone on in the past. And I'm not saying that that's a reason, because there are never, ever any excuse for domestic abuse, but it could be a reason as to why they think, feel and act the way that they do right now. So we can provide some understanding around that. We can explain the services that we've got that can help them. So this is our triage conversation first and foremost to see if they're in the right place to actually come to one of our programs and to be open and honest. We can't work with somebody who is in complete denial. That's really, really difficult, but we will do our absolute best to try and get some sort of acknowledgement or admittance right at the very beginning.
Okay, it's really interesting. And in terms of helping those who demonstrate these behaviours of harm, again, what sort of geographical areas does Fear Free operate in there?
So we run sites in Gloucester, in Devon, in Wiltshire, so Trowbridge, and further down towards Amesbury, especially within the military services.
Yeah, so we're obviously recording for WED, Women Empowering Defence. And so a lot of our listeners will be either military or have links to services. Tell me, what do you think are the kind of differences, the more complicated things, perhaps, if there's domestic abuse in a military setting?
It's really interesting, and we're really pleased to have just gotten the military contract to deliver our Forces Intervention Programme, our FIT. The differences, I would say, are a lot of the military have a complex difficulties such as PTSD. They've gone on tours, there are lots of mental health difficulties that could contribute to controlling behaviour, domestic abuse, domestic violence, physical assault, additional alcohol misuse. Also, there's access to weapons that they have. So you combine the mental health aspects with access to weapons as well. You have deployment issues. So if there's domestic abuse already going on within the family unit, It could be when mum or dad are being deployed or both. How does that feel for the children? Do the children then have a sense of relief that they're not going to be witnessing any domestic abuse while deployment is in force? But then how do they feel when perpetrator, mum or dad, comes back into the family home and all the rules are installed again and they have to adapt to that? Also, in terms of deployment, we're aware that military gets shipped to different locations. So does that mean that the families have to be uprooted then, which can cause isolation if there's domestic abuse within the home? And that isolates the victims and the children from any support network that they've got around them. We have quite a lot of military coming from overseas, so wives in particular, that don't have the same rights as maybe somebody born in England, a military wife that might be experiencing domestic abuse. So they have the fear if they tell somebody, the serving personnel could lose their job, their home, and they might have to go back with nothing, or, they might have to go into a refuge. So there are lots of different elements within the military that are very different civilian
Yeah.
families.
Certainly sounds like it could complicate matters quite significantly if it involved a military family, perhaps with all of those different things to bear in mind.
Yeah.
So you mentioned FIP, the Forces Intervention Programme. It sounds like a really interesting and exciting programme. What does FIP do?
So FIPS, it's a domestic violence perpetrator program. Again, working with male or female. We deliver group sessions or one-to-one, 25 weeks or a 10-week program. So we're absolutely aware that deployment, somebody could be deployed halfway through a program, and we can carry on those sessions if they're deployed abroad, or we can do it on Teams. For everybody that gets referred to us, we then offer support to the partners, again, regardless of gender, affected others, and we have a children, young people's worker as well. So it's that whole family approach that we kind of wrap ourselves around that whole family and offer everyone support that's needed.
That sounds brilliant. So it has to be the person that is causing harm, the perpetrator, that wants that support, and then the FIP will support the whole family.
Absolutely. If somebody is absolutely meets criteria and being open and honest about their behaviour right at the very start, we'll accept them. And immediately, part of our respect standards is that we will make contact with the partner or ex-partner or both. And in the past, we've actually worked with current partner, ex-partner, and ex-partner. So anybody really that is affected by that one person will offer that support too. And it's part of the conditions of all of our perpetrator programs for them to pass on their partner, ex-partner's details right at the very start. It's a condition for them to come on to us, or we won't take them.
Okay. And so is this only for serving personnel?
No, it's for veterans as well. So it's serving personnel, it's veterans. We're aware that there are some barriers to referring into us in terms of how it might affect their role, how it might affect their job if they're actually admitting that they are being abusive within their relationship. So we're really trying to work hard at bringing down those barriers, and disclosures will only be if there's a certain level of risk.
So that's interesting. So if someone thought, do you know what, actually I'm in the military and my behaviours and relationships are causing harm and I'd like to get some help. And if they did contact Fear Free, so would Fear Free automatically tell their chain of command or anything like that?
Absolutely not. No. There has to be an element of confidentiality. Also for the partners as well, or ex-partners. I really need to kind of make it clear that anything that the partners or ex-partners saying to our affected others worker or our partner safety worker will not get back to the perpetrator. So it's all done in strict confidence. We will only share information if we feel somebody is going to be at risk.
Oh, okay, so if you think someone's at risk of being immediately harmed, you would obviously have to report that.
Absolutely.
But if you felt that actually no one was at risk of being immediately harmed, then actually those sessions would be confidential.
Absolutely.
You talked about veterans. Is there like a minimum amount of service someone has to have done, or is it literally anyone that's been in the military for any period of time?
Period of time whatsoever.
And all of the forces?
Yeah, all of the forces. So it's tri-forces, Navy and Army. And like I said, we're really trying to spread the news out there that we're here to support personnel, veterans, partners, children, anybody affected by that person. If there's domestic abuse going on, it could be that the best friends know about this. It could be that parents of the victims and perpetrator know that's what's going on, but feel really scared to say anything to anybody, to kind of reach out for help. It's really, really difficult for parents, grandparents, because if there's a separation, grandparents might not get to see their grandchildren any longer. So it really does have a ripple effect, within the whole family dynamic.
Yeah. Okay. And geographically then, where does that person need to be based or need to live to access this service?
So we've expanded our geographical area now for referrals. And anybody really that can drive within the Wiltshire area.
Okay. So if someone lives outside of Wiltshire, but they can drive for
groups or one-to-ones inside the Wiltshire area, absolutely.
Excellent. Okay. So that obviously covers, quite a big geographical area. I know there's certainly military bases sort of Oxfordshire, Gloucestershire, Hampshire, Dorset, Wiltshire that could all get to within the Wiltshire area. So yeah,
and people can just pick the phone up and just ask, and just even if somebody wants to kind of call anonymously just to get a little bit of information, just to ascertain what the program's about. Like I said, anonymously, give us a call and just get some information. We'll be happy to answer any questions that people have got.
Great. So how do people get in touch?
People can get in touch through our duty line or our website. The website is www.fearfree.org.uk.
Excellent. So anyone can have a look at the website, contact numbers, and get in touch.
Yeah.
So Sally, it's been going for a little while. Have you had any success stories, or what kind of things have you seen?
Yeah, we've had some really good feedback from the partners in particular to say that they feel much safer now. The service users that we work, we don't just sit down with them and talk to them. We have structured session plans that we will work with them. There is an element of challenging if there's misogynistic views, sexism.
So you've been running the Forces intervention program now for a little while. How did it come about?
There was a need. There was a gap that needed plugging, really, and it was identified that there was nothing for the military personnel or veterans to go to. And it was clearly identified that there was domestic abuse within these families and all the other extenuating factors that come along with being in the military and the difficulties that come with that. We're delighted to be given 3 years funding from the Armed Forces Covenant Fund, which enabled us to really identify serving personnel and veterans.
Thanks, Sally. Some really interesting information there. Just to reiterate to our listeners that they can get more information from the website, www.fearfree.org.uk. And if you are out there and you are struggling in terms of domestic abuse within your relationship, you can always contact the National Domestic Violence Helpline. It's a 24-hour helpline. The phone number is 0808 2000 247. So please do reach out and get support. There is advice on the Fear Free website around how to stay safe and the kind of things that people might need if they are in a relationship that involves domestic abuse. And remember, if you're linked to the military, if you are serving or have ever served, then if you have concerns around your behaviour within a relationship, you can reach out to Fear Free and be a part of the Forces Intervention Programme, that support and that help that Sally talked about. So thanks again, Sally. And that's it for today. I hope that you found today's podcast interesting. Remember, domestic abuse is something that impacts on 1 in 4 women and 1 in 6 men. So there is a likelihood that you will know people that are experiencing domestic abuse. So remember, there's advice and support on the Fear Free website, or you can contact the National Domestic Violence Helpline on 0808 2000 247. Our next podcast, I am excited that I will be attending the Women Empowering Defence 2024 conference in London. I'm going to be bringing you some snippets from that day, interviews with various people that are attending to get their immediate responses to the things that they hear. I look forward to speaking to you all next time. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Stay tuned for more episodes coming soon.